The acting Navy secretary who fired the captain on board the USS Roosevelt apparently described him as being too stupid or naive for the job. He made the comments over the ship's PA system, and Jennifer Griffin has that story now from the Pentagon. What happened, Jennifer?
Well, Bill, the acting Navy Secretary Thomas Modly flew out to Guam without a public affairs team and delivered a blistering, profanity-laced speech chastising the sailors on board the USS Roosevelt and mocking Captain Brett Crozier's decision to put in writing why he thought most of the sailors on board the aircraft carrier needed to be removed from the ship in Guam as the number of COVID cases on board exploded.
If he didn't think that information was going to get out into the public in this information age that we live in, then he was A, too naive or too...
Every 3 minutes in New York, someone dies from the coronavirus. The procession of bodies being wheeled out of the hospitals where they spent their last hours, a grim but now all too familiar scene. But although hundreds are still dying every day, the rate of increase has slowed. There's hope that the crisis here may even have reached a plateau.
If we are plateauing at a very high level, and there's tremendous stress on the healthcare system. And to say to this healthcare system, which is at maximum capacity today, right? This is a hospital system where we have our foot to the floor and the engine is at red line.
Safety fears have seen a hospital in Paris employ bodyguards to escort staff to their cars or public transport. This is after a spike in attacks on medical workers since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. Nurses working at a hospital in the capital were filmed on Saturday being accompanied by guards to take trains home. The Gare du Nord station is just a 10-minute walk from the hospital. Yet still employees didn't feel safe making the short journey alone.
I can now say that we get to go home in peace, unafraid, not wondering whether we are going to be assaulted. We saw the police detain aggressive people. Some colleagues have been assaulted. It is happening more often because fewer people are allowed out onto the streets. So after several incidents, the hospital organized a security presence for us.
It's been more than a week since the government imposed strict restrictions. No traveling, meetings, or public activities after Angola reported a dozen COVID-19 infections. But many people are still venturing out to earn a living. People still come out in droves at markets, shops, and water points in the capital, Luanda. Many households don't have running water. They have to buy it from private vendors. But it might take weeks for deliveries to arrive. The government has pleaded for people to stay indoors because the number of infected is expected to rise. It's promised to eventually deliver food and water to disadvantaged areas. The private sector is also getting involved. Telephone operators have offered free minutes to avoid queues of people buying top-up vouchers.
también animar la vida de los creyentes con la parte espiritual, y por eso estaremos sobrevolando en un acto significativo esta realidad de Panamá para que el Señor siga bendiciendo a cada uno de nosotros. Con el Santísimo Sacramento, para los que habitamos en esta patria, en estos momentos en que nuestro pueblo
Living in self-isolation means being cooped up inside your house, only stepping out to pick up groceries or essential items. Minimalism is the mantra. But not when you are the king of Thailand. The Thai king, Maha Vajiralongkorn, decided to self-isolate in faraway Germany. The venue? Grand Hotel Sonnenbechel in Bavaria, a 4-star luxury hotel. Not a suite or two, the entire hotel was booked for this lavish quarantine. Accompanying the king are 20 women, you heard that right. The king of Thailand has taken along 20 female concubines and some servants.
The number of cases here at around 4,800 and the number of deaths at just over 100 are relatively small. But what's got health officials and government officials here concerned is a recent fairly dramatic rise in the number of cases in Tokyo, in the western city of Osaka, and 5 other regions across Japan. And this is what has really brought the Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to this point where he's now within hours of declaring a state of emergency. He'll do that at a press conference later on this evening, and that will go into effect at midnight. And what is also worrying is that many of these new transmissions haven't been traced.
It's a long and tortuous road back home for these Venezuelan migrants. Hundreds are trying to make the 556-kilometer-long journey to Colombia's border with Venezuela on foot, fleeing not just the COVID-19 epidemic, but acute unemployment that is obliging them to return home. Venezuelans are also returning through the border with Brazil, where the pandemic is spreading poverty as well as disease. In the back of this market in Rio de Janeiro, people who've been left unemployed by the crisis queue for leftover fish and vegetables. The need for people to stay isolated is wreaking havoc in Latin America's largest economy. And unlike the Venezuelans, millions of Brazilians who are now out of work and out of money have nowhere else to go.